Hey everybody, so Mad Master here. I am going to be releasing a bunch of videos probably in the next 24 hours because I figured I want to clear out my phone again. I like to do that every couple of months, just to raw, unedited videos, meaning the audio may not be the best, but whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do. As far as that goes, I may just release them all. So just be forewarned before I release that. This may not be edited either, so. But anyways, today is going to be a video with a very familiar subject that you may have heard me talk about before, and I decided to do this video because while there's some things that bother me with recent statements by a certain medical authority and his various interviews he's done, very problematic things that he's said, and very twisted kind of things that I disagree with and I am very suspicious of for various reasons, for obvious reasons, over the last 2 years, of course. There is a lot of hope right now that for those who are more into a certain type of bodily autonomy, disagree or agree. And I know I've been controversial because I am on the left, and I'm one of the rare people that has been very critical of mandates and various rules, because it's like a whack-a-mole approach to things, and if it never ends, then what are we going to do? Which it never will really end, and people that say, oh, well, we should have followed all this stuff in the beginning, we should have done all this stuff. I mean, this shit was in control of China, who was a totalitarian state in a lot of ways. And you're not going to get them to control things that they either fucked up or they, or maybe more nefarious beliefs that you may have about it. So this is my take on what is going on right now. So recently, Los Angeles announced they're going to do another facial covering mandate. I'm not going to say the M word because I don't want to, well, I may as well say it. Maybe. I'm trying to use code words, so a facial covering mandate. And there was some outcry from business leaders, like usual, like with the Philadelphia one, and because they're in high transmission or whatever right now with the C virus. I'm just going to say the C virus. And there has been some really interesting developments in regards to this, and that is the idea that Beverly Hills is not going to enforce it, because they feel the mayor of Beverly Hills, I think her name is like Lily, God, what is her last name? Very interesting woman if you read about her. I looked her up, and she is definitely a Democrat because she gave like all this money to Democrats and stuff. And she's like, I don't know if it was her or this LA commissioner, or not commissioner, but LA County board member that is speaking up about it, is that said basically, we looked at the Alameda mandate, Alameda County, that lasted for 3 weeks, which is not a very long time, honestly. And we found no difference between the rates of where there are mandates and rates where they're not. Now, anybody that's in the know, that's been studying the numbers for a long time, know that this is pretty significantly truthful as far as this whole thing goes. Because for one, when you're using a piece of cloth, that's not going to stop transmission like an N95 or KN95 or whatever. And then also, I was actually talking to someone about this, you have to get that properly fitted to really have an effect, and sometimes they only last a couple hours. So this whole notion that this miasma is stopped by this superstitious cloth thing in your face is so ludicrous in the first place. Now, if they would have, I'm just going to say, a lockdown, which I do not support, another lockdown probably slow it down. Obviously, that does slow things down, you know. But nobody has the stomach for that at this point in time. We've been doing this shit for over 2 years now. And I don't think it's gonna. I think it's just like we're at the point where there's Democratic mayors like Beverly Hills that refuse to follow mandates. Democratic mayors, and this is the only county that is even thinking about a mandate. Now, what's even funnier, what's even more interesting, is that they are actually contemplating not doing the mandate because like the numbers are flattening of the rates. Like, oh, maybe not. Because it's highly unpopular no matter what Mr. Fauci says. You know, he's like, we should have been more strict in the beginning. He's like coming out and saying we should have been more hardcore. Now, how more hardcore can you be? Do you mean as hardcore as the blue states, blue cities that lock down hardcore? All across the nation? Or do you mean like more hard, like China? I mean, it's a scary thought, honestly. What he said was a fucking scary thought. I do not like the guy. He creeps me out. He always kind of did in a way, but I don't know. There's something not quite right with his whole thing. And I'm just going to say that. Like, even like, you know, like I've said things about Osterholm in the past, like he's more hardcore than Fauci in some ways, but he's more consistent than Fauci at least, you know? So I would have actually probably trusted someone that was more consistent and less like squirmy than someone like Fauci. And another thing about Fauci is that he could have resigned under Trump. He could have said, I don't like the way this is going. I'm going to, you know, and he could have resigned and all that stuff. I don't know what his whole goal of all that, of him remaining in there was. Just, you know, he's making all this money and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of what's happening now. Because I was terrified of more restrictions, honestly. Like, I just know, because I'm kind of on a roll. I'm sort of getting on a roll in life again, and to have these restrictions that just remind me of being locked down, not being able to do stuff, it's like, or, you know, limited stuff, it just makes me really depressed and mad. So I'm glad that we're at the point where people are just like, enough is enough. I was at work, this woman that I work with, and she's like freaking out over it, and she was telling me she was driving to different counties, and she was in the hospital for this still, because she had 2 different things at the same time, the FLU as well, and the C virus. She was in the hospital at one point, and she's sick of the facial thing, you know. She was driving in different counties to not wear to go to grocery stores because this county was like really strict about it and stuff. So I think it's a sign of hope when the county is like backing down. LA County's like backing, like, well, maybe not, because there's so much of an uproar. I mean, these rich people that live in fucking Beverly Hills are not going to have a mandate because they're not going to enforce it, and then you'll be able to drive in some other, you know, jurisdiction of LA and they'll have a mandate. That's the stuff we've been complaining about for 2 years, that kind of thing. Just this inconsistent bullshit. So, and, you know, I hate talking about this stuff. I know it's very divisive, but, you know, it is what it is, like, with regards to how I think about this. And I know I've lost people in relation to my thoughts on this, and then, but some of them are actually turning around too, I've noticed. So it's like, you know, it's just too long. We've been going through this too long. It's kind of ridiculous when you know everybody that you know is getting testing positive. It's like, it's time to pull the plug on this shit, you know. It's just time to pull the plug on this hysteria to some extent. You know, maybe people could still, you know, who are at high risk should, you know, have people around them tested or whatever. But it's just like, at this point, it's gotten so ludicrous. But that's about all.